One of the questions that comes up is how risk and return are affected as we have changes in general interest rates. In particular, we're looking here at the Fisher effect, which is talking about changes in expected inflation and what we would expect to see for any interest rate in general. HR Industries has a beta of 1.8, while LR Industries has a beta of 0.6. We've got a risk-free rate of 6%. Required rate of return on an average stock is 13%, in other words, the market. Now, the expected rate of inflation built into the risk-free rate, suppose it falls by 1.5 percentage points. The real risk-free rate remains constant. So in other words, from that Fisher effect, what it's talking about is the risk-free rate is going to fall by the change in expected inflation. The required rate of return in the market falls to 10.5%. Okay, and all betas remain constant. After all of these changes, what will be the difference in the required returns for HRI and LRI? So the first thing comes, what goes on when inflation expectation goes down by 1.5%? Well, the new risk-free rate is going to be nothing more than a look at the old risk-free rate of 6%, and we'll add to that this change in expected inflation that's given right there. So we see that 4.5% is the new rate that we're anticipating that's going to go on. Now, with respect to HRI, we've been told here that the betas are going to stay the same. So when we're calculating it, we're just going to use the security market line, which is the new risk-free rate plus the beta on HRI of 1.8 multiplied by the difference between the new return in the market and the new risk-free rate. So when you pop those in there for the security market line, you find that the return that's expected is 15.3%. Now, if you look for LRI, again, we're going to go through the same process. So we start with the new risk-free rate. We're going to add to that the beta for LRI, which is unchanged, 0.6. That's going to be multiplied by the market risk premium on the new factors, which would be the 10.5% minus the 4.5% that we just found for the new risk-free rate. So when you look at that, there's an 8.1%. Now, what it asks for is what's going to be the difference between the required returns for these two items. And the difference between these items is just going to be the 15.3% minus this 8.1%. So what it begins to get at here is a sense of when you have inflationary changes or other types of changes, do you get parallel shifts in the curves of the security market line, or are these pivoting around a particular point? Here you can see we've gotten a movement in the risk-free rate versus the, that's a 1.5% versus the effect that it's going to have on the market of a 2.5% rate. So it's somewhat of a pivoting effect that's going on there.